Ladies and gents, welcome to UX, and this is every single Warhammer 40k faction re-explained part 2. Okay, this must be the greatest time ever because I just watched Factorio video from Martin Side of Pants and now I'm getting Warhammer explained video from Bricky. It feels like I'm a few years back now. This shit is happening. Okay. Yeah, I saw the part 1 in 3 parts because these are big ones. I'm guessing this is the last one because last one was, I don't know how big it was, like 2 hours or something, right? I don't know. Oh, yeah, it was 2 hours long. This is 1.5 hour long, so I'm guessing he covered everything in this one. Yeah, it's gonna be very awesome. I love watching Warhammer videos, obviously, especially Bricky explanations, because those are the best explanation in a way. It's most entertaining way. Somehow Bricky has the way to explain to you in a brief summaries, even though summary is like 3-4 hours long. That's how big Warhammer is. It's always interesting to watch it, right? So in this one, we're gonna cover like what Chaos Marines and other things. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Let's do it. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the next Sunday, there's a link in the description. If you haven't seen the first videos, reactions I did, check out the end card or I don't know, link in the description. And let's do this one.
This video is part 2 in a 2-part series on every faction re-explained. If you've not seen part 1, you were either snatched by the YouTube algorithm, or you don't let anything, not even common sense, hold you back. And for that, well, I wish I could be that strong. The quest to find the Primarchs was expansive and treacherous, to the point where they really should write a book about it. Despite never seeing the Emperor before in their lives, the Primarchs all instinctively knew who the Emperor was. Whether it's his psychic connection to him or just plain old intuition, the giant golden god is a bit of a giveaway, the Primarchs all lived their own lives. And
basically, they play into that thing. You know, like people say twins usually have some kind of, like if something happens to the other twin, other one will like, oh wait a minute, something happened. There's a disturbance in the force. Obviously, there's a saying like that. That's their play. I love how Warhammer plays different type of things that already exist in the world and add it adds to it, from history to everything.
And some lived substantially better lives than others. Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines.
What? Okay, it's gonna be good.
Rose through the ranks of his worlds and ended up turning an entire sector into a high-functioning society, where others, like Mortarion, lived on the poisonous hellscape of Barbarous under the boot heel of his own adopted father. When the Emperor arrived, some wanted to play a little bit of catch with their dad at first, and some didn't trust the baseball bat he was carrying, and some didn't want to play at all. Eventually, one by one, the Emperor returned his sons to his side to bring them back together as one happy family. A family who needed a good cleaning. Are you tired of boring old soap? Is your son the foulest being ever? Do your eyes sting when he comes near? Well, clean that man right back up with the power of Cheeky. That's right, the brand new moisturizing bar soap brought to you by Moist Critical and Bricky approved. Nurgle hates it, but you'll love it. Bar soap is always so sticky and has a ton of fuss, but now you'll be glowing to the surprise of Lehman Russ.
Moist Critical, that's a super Floridian or something, right? That's what Asmongold's editor call him. Yeah, that's his channel's name as well, right? Moist Critical.
Cheeky soap is so good, we didn't even take a down payment for the sponsor. That's right, we love this soap so much, we are operating on 100% commission. We are supported purely and only by those of you who buy Cheeky. It is the best bar soap we have ever used. That is not a hyperbole. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Take it from the man himself.
Bricky's right, it's very good.
Enjoy a multitude of flavors, including...
There's an image of him flying around, right? Like where he has like a open shirt, tattoos here, and some kind of like AR-15 or something. He's just loading up. What is the story there? That shit is next level. I see his like videos pop up in recommended feed because he just talks about shit that happens in the world. I guess just like Asmon does. I guess I don't know. Just similar like him. I haven't watched his video yet, but I think I should check it out.
Lo-Fi Lavender, Pulp Francis, Just Soap, Touch Grass, and Absolute Cinnamon. Cheeky alone has made me swap back to bar soap as my primary choice. No more liquid soap for this brick. Cheeky is the play. Go ahead and go to useshiggy.com/Bricky or code Bricky for 10% off your purchase and domestically support these videos. That's code Bricky at useshiggy.com/Bricky or click the link in the description to learn more. Get clean now. Oh, yeah, so half his sons turned on him. After the Emperor was able to bring all of his sons back into the fold again, he sent them on their way with his end goal in mind: reclaiming the lost worlds of humanity. Each of his Primarchs fanned out across the galaxy to accomplish this goal, but the one they were expected to report to was his favored son, and the first one found, allegedly, which was Horus. Horus was great to the title of War Master, and he certainly lived up to Big E's expectations, which were very specific and set by Big E himself to all of his sons. However, either intentionally or not, the Emperor did not mention to his sons some of the more chaotic aspects of the galaxy. Horus himself, while in the process of reclaiming a more advanced human world, was informed of the existence of chaos gods, a factoid that Horus initially did not believe. To him,
Nargo's like, no, wait a minute, it would be Zinch, right? No, hey, Horus, your dad doesn't love you. He's just using you. He just wants this world for himself. Who the fuck was that? It's God. No, you're not. Worth a try.
it was a bit unfathomable to think that his father would emit such significant information on the inner workings of the galaxy. However, he soon realized this was the truth, and this betrayal was unacceptable. With the astronomical weight put on his shoulders and his father immediately leaving it all in his hands, combined with the slow corruption of his mind by those.
I like how he has this internal neon light there. Just like people put in their room, LED lights. You know, nowadays YouTubers are like, I don't know, like, I need to make a studio before I do that shit. Better studio. This shit like that, like, oh, what should we do with your armor, sir? I don't know, put a little red light in it. Why? It doesn't, it's just theme. It's my expression. I'm an art major.
As closest to him, he began to change his tune. Horus began amassing a following behind his father's back with several other Primarchs and began to formulate plans to usurp him from his throne on Terra. While this was occurring, Magnus the Red tried to FaceTime his dad back on Terra, and that resulted in the shattering of a protective barrier between Terra and the demons of the warp. Due to this damage, the Emperor was forced to sit on the Golden Throne to assure that it would continue to function. Ultimately, half of the Primarchs would fall to chaos, and the remaining half would fight back viciously against their brothers. Horus eventually...
That image is so insane, right? Like small humans compared to what is like 40-foot tall emperor, because his size can change if he wants to. That's insane.
Gained the upper hand and arrived in orbit above Terra itself, and after antagonizing his father enough, the Emperor temporarily removed himself from the throne, strategically putting his old friend there as a seat warmer, and went to confront Horus himself on the Vengeful Spirit, his flagship. The Emperor faced down his son, and after a heated battle and 64 novels, the Emperor managed to obliterate Horus on a subatomic.
I love this photo where his 1 foot is basically up like that, drying out his balls or something. This armor's very hot, man. You don't know what he's going through.
Level, but not before his favorite son was able to mortally wound the Emperor. As the dust settled and the traitors fled from Terra, the Emperor's body was dragged back onto the Golden Throne, where it sits permanently.
Hold up there, this made me think. He's very skeletonish now. He doesn't have flesh. Does he have balls left? Is there any lore that talks about that? Every time like some custodians get closer, go away. Where the Emperor, did you speak? Yeah, go away. Don't come close to me. Like, why? Yeah, no reason. I don't want you to see something.
To assure that it continues to function. A corpse forced to constantly hold back the horrors of the warp and guide humanity with his pale light. And that light is flickering. From there, the remaining members of the traitors to the Emperor fled to their respective safe havens. These are the veterans of the Long War, the spiteful, and to them, the wronged. Those who would let the galaxy burn if it means the Imperium gets caught in the flames. These are the...
Basically, the space marine who got cool upgrades, demonic upgrades. Someone became demonic, somebody became something else, and there you go. Compared to the other space marines, other Primarchs, basically. I'm gonna guess he's talking to talk about Primarchs as well. So all the Chaos Primarchs who get all the demonic upgrade, these other Primarchs didn't.
And what are the achievements of your fragile Imperium? It is a corpse rotting slowly from within while maggots writhe in its belly. It was built with the toil of heroes and giants, and now it is inhabited by frightened weaklings to whom the glories of those times are half-forgotten legends. I have forgotten nothing, and my wisdom has expanded far beyond mere mortal frailties. The Horus Heresy saw the collapse.
As soon as he said that, other spacemen is like, I wonder why. I wonder why that is the case. Who are the few traitorous fucks who destroyed our home and ran away? Who must they be? That's I'm stumped right now. Who did this shit?
Of the Imperium as we knew it at the time, and half of the Space Marine legions fell to the ruinous powers. Though the favored son, War Master Horus, was killed and the rebellion ended, the heretical forces retreated to the warp and remain a constant threat to this day. The twisted reminder of what the temptations of the warp may bring, the Chaos Space Marines act as a mirror to the loyal legions, and as time progresses, their warp taint further changes them to suit the needs of their patron deity. Though marred and absolutely mangled by the ruinous powers, they are still unmistakably Space Marines in stature and shape, and according to them, they have never been more free. After the heresy, the loyal legions of Space Marines became very strict in their organization, and their separation into separate chapters with capped numbers and other formalities was done to prevent any form of heresy from happening again. The Chaos Space Marines are a bit different. Ultimately, these Marines are subject to the primary legions that fell to Chaos in the first place. The majority of these legions, the Black Legion, the Word Bearers, Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, and the Night Lords, are supporters of Chaos undivided, either enjoying the powers of all Chaos gods or sometimes shunning them altogether. But a few of them follow a very specific Chaos god. Thousand Sons are followers of Zeech, the Death Guard follows Nurgle, Slaanesh has their claws in the
Guess whose god I belong to? Like, you're pink. Let me guess for a second. Guess whose god I belong to? You have 3 eyes. That's stumped one. Like, what that could be.
the Emperor's children, and the World Eaters are avid followers of Khorne. From there, the legions themselves are separated into roaming war bands that may go under their own unique names or may stake a claim to one of the primary legions. Most of the gear and armor of a Chaos Space Marine remains the same, but stylistically it changes quite a bit to reflect the intention of the legion or their patron god. The Death Guard's armor has become rotted and full of gaping mouths and plague-filled boils. The World Eater's sharp and violent armor reflects their bloodthirst, and the chaotic noise of the Emperor's Children armor, nipple rings included, pleases Slaanesh greatly. Due to the taint of chaos, the armor itself becomes less about plating and more about a new skin for any given Chaos Space Marine. Though the Chaos Space Marines have no true fear of death or numbers diminishing, there are still major recruitment efforts for their legions. However, the conscription of these recruits is a lot more chaos-fueled and is more of a forced assimilation, and in some instances, breeding. The organ implementations and other modifications are the same, and the necessity of a gene seed remains the same, but the result is a hell of a lot different. Understanding Chaos
Isn't that insane that before 40 millennia, 40 minutes, whatever, before Horus Heresy, like, only way to know if there any gods exist, like these gods, chaos gods, is like, if you know, you know, or you don't know, like there was no specific, but now, these chaos marines actually existing, being on a lot of planets, just doing these things, recruiting, that's a direct physical evidence, like, yeah, these chaos gods exist, like nobody can, like, question. Even people who don't know if they can, like, someone like Tau or something, they can't question because, oh, there you go, that's a, it has all the, you know, like, or maybe they could just, like, I don't know, people can, like, just claim, like, wait a minute, they just act like that has nothing to do with the gods or something. But then again, like, when you have a demonic looking thing coming towards you, like, it's really hard to question that.
Space Marines is a difficult exercise. If we took my original video 5 years back and looked at the Imperial Knights section, it mainly focuses on big stompy robots. Now that I understand more, I can discuss the Code Chivalric, the Throne Mechanicum, Squires, and Monarchs, and bring some more context to it all. To assume Chaos Space Marines are simply the opposite side of Space Marines would be foolish, for once you understand the plight of their Primarchs, it can provide a context always needed. Horus himself turned through an overwhelming weight on his shoulders and lies told by his father. But what of Angron? Angron lived as a slave gladiator for his planet's masters, who took Dark Age technology and shoved it into his brain, so experiencing any emotion other than rage was agony for him. He finally leads a revolt for his fellow gladiators and frees himself from the confines of servitude. The Emperor finds him and says he will take him home, but Angron refuses. He will fight with his friends against the tyranny of his slave owners to the last. At the final last stand with him and his closest friends, slave gladiators, all of them outnumbered and on the verge of death, the Emperor forcefully teleports Angron to his flagship and none of his compatriots, leaving Angron to live and watch all of his friends die. You kept that mule Corferon. Russ kept his kin friends. The Lion kept Luther. Humans, brothers, and foster fathers, saved and raised into Legion ranks. But not me. Not Angron, no. Did the Emperor teleport his gold-wrapped custodians down to help me in my army? No. Did he free the Warhounds and order them to battle, fight alongside me? No. Did he save my brothers and sisters the way he spared and honored the Lion's kin, the way he honored Corferon? No, no, and no. No mercy for Angron, Angron the Oathbreaker, Angron the Betrayer. Conrad.
So Angron has sibling issues, right? Like you hear about this story, it's like one sibling is such a favorite, and that sibling always gets everything, while the other not, and other eventually reaches a breaking point and just like, yeah, you did all this shit for him, but you never do this for me. That's your favorite son. Angron has that fucking element going. I didn't know that. Like, damn, that's insane. And Emperor was kind of like a-hole for doing that. I think it was like very not diplomatic, very specific thing he did deliberately, because Angron said no to coming back and he wanted to fight with his other brothers. So Emperor's like, I'm gonna wait for a perfect moment to punish you type of shit. Yeah, that was one of the things that was like, yeah, that probably turned Angron already.
Has lived as a lonely boy scrounging the dregs of a hive city plagued by constant visions of an assassin sent to murder him by his own father. Lorgar was born on a world of chaos worshippers with abusive parents, and the Emperor decided the best way to reprimand him was destroy his holy city. The Emperor robbed Mortarion of vengeance and suppressed Magnus at every turn. The question isn't why the Primarchs rebelled. The question is, why didn't they sooner? To them, they are not the betrayers. They are the betrayed. They were under the boot of a golden tyrant, and they finally could be free from his heel. Of course, things.
See, the point is, this kind of stories happen everywhere where there is an empire and an emperor involved. Most people are never happy with the one in power, right? The difference between that is like, it's one thing to be angry about that and having like internal issues, and it's another thing to betray your empire, not just your emperor, empire, and go to the other side. That's what marked the heresy, right? Yes, there was an issue, but the point isn't like there was an issue. Of course there was an issue. They could have fought back. They could have internal issue and all that. But no, they went with the Chaos Guards, with obviously Chaos Guards influence, and betrayed the empire or imperium, not just the emperor. That was one of the breaking point I was shared.
Have changed a lot since the heresy, and the Primarchs of the Chaos Space Marines that have survived the fall are a twisted variant of what they used to be. They have all, for the most part, ascended to the position of Demon Prince and act as a direct connection between their god and their legion. However, due to the nature of the transformation and dedication to a particular Chaos God, their actions tend to be separate from their legion's actions. Fulgrim, for example, is so infatuated with being a Demon Prince of Slaanesh that he is at times far too focused on his own personal perfection as opposed to conquest and sitting around like Frankfurter on his throne. Meanwhile, Lorgar is being stalked by a bird, so he's always on edge. The most adamant against the temptations of the Chaos Gods, Perturabo, was even made a demon prince as a reward for being the one who did the most work on the group project. Chaos Space Marines are a fascinating faction because there is a great deal of cognitive dissonance that is represented in them. Depending on which faction you follow, your devotion to chaos is a sliding scale, and the representation in the universe is so varied. Some are there to reap a high tally of kills for their patron deity, while others are there purely to destroy the Imperium who wronged them. Some are there to torture and maim, and some are there to conquest and conquer. There is no unifying glue. They fight each other as much as they fight everyone else, and their machinations are entirely up to their warband. You have all walked different paths, but together we have come to the same destination. The Emperor has failed us. The Imperium has failed us all. It has failed us by the laxity of its laws, the decadence of its culture, and in the injustices heaped upon those of us who serve the most loyally. It has failed us by never recognizing our virtues, never rewarding us for the blood we shed and bringing about its ascendancy, and never providing unity when we needed it most. It has failed us by being flawed to its core, imperfect in its pursuit of a perfect culture, and in its weakness against the encroachment of Xenos breeds that seek to twist humanity to alien ends. And it has failed us, most of all, by being founded upon lies. The Imperium is forged by a dangerous deceit and erodes us all by demanding we sacrifice truth on the altar of necessity. This is an empire propagated by sin that deserves to die. And here on Istvan V, we begin the purge. From these ashes shall rise the new kingdom of mankind, an imperium of justice, faith, and enlightenment, an imperium heralded, commanded, and protected by the avatars of the gods themselves, an empire strong enough to stand through a future of blood and fire. Naturally, however.
See, sometimes I think, did Zinj had a play? Did he play mind game with these Primarchs? Because before Emperor find them, Zinj could have had play or manipulated enough things that some of them had really bad, let's just say dilemma level situation, like how it was, right? So when Emperor finds them, there will never be a case where Emperor can bring them back. And if Emperor does bring them back, they will be salty, let's just say. Zinj could have had hand in that, because you don't know how Chaos Gods works. Like what is time for them? What is the long vision, right? They could have seen this coming. They could have seen the rise of Emperor and doing all this shit. So, they could, Chaos God literally could have hand way earlier than before the Horus Heresy even happened. It makes sense why they fight each other and how they're different, because Chaos Gods are different. They have different needs, different things.
However, as I have said before, Space Marines do not make up the bulk of the fighting force in the Imperium, so it would be ludicrous for me to not mention their dark cousins. The Code Chivalry is the sign of the power of the Imperial Knights. But what about the ruinous powers claimed during the Horus Heresy extended beyond just the Space Marines and the Primarchs. Mars itself was subject to a revolution that saw half of them fall to chaos as well. And some of the once loyal knight houses saw themselves swearing fealty to the dark gods. The falling of these factions allows for the war machine of chaos to continue uninterrupted and to have firepower equal to that of the Imperium itself. The Dark Mechanicum, as the name suggests, is the chaos-affiliated branch of the Mechanicus, and have a lot more free reign, much like the freedoms of the Chaos Space Marines. The seeds of the Dark Mechanicum were planted fairly early due to some of the Mechanicum not really seeing the Emperor as the Omnissiah immediately, and Horus exploited this to allow the schism to happen a bit more naturally. Unlike their Imperial brothers, the Dark Mechanicum have the ability to invent and innovate. What a concept. While also utilizing forbidden technologies such as the Silica Animus or AI. The Dark Mechanicum do have their own desires to find lost technologies and put them to use, but they're more interested in taking ancient and forbidden technology from Imperial worlds and activating them for their own purposes. Because what good is a bunch of knob and tube wiring if you don't overload it with as many extension cords as possible? However, instead of being clear
Oh, I love this. How Dark Mechanicus like fuck all that. Like just do what we want. Like what to do? Like opposite of Mechanicus. Oh, we can only find the old relics. No. Let's exploit anything we can find. That automatically gives them the edge, doesn't it?
And more generalized creations, the inventions of the Dark Mechanicum are inherently tied with the warp and its demons. Genetic experimentation and modification, the fusion of man and machine are exceptionally common, and no creation is more reflective of this than the demon engines. Instead of regular tanks and vehicles, the demon engines are machines bound with the presence of demons to make them living war machines. Unlike the vehicles of the Imperium, where a Mechanicus priest may be there to aid in its repair, a Warpsmith sorcerer is there to essentially repair and irritate the demon engine so that it can be a more effective killing machine. In certain factions, like the bitter and siege-loving Iron Warriors, they will lure demons with the promise of glory and easy bloodletting, only to then forcibly trap them into these demonic engines to use as weapons of war against the Imperium. Some lesser gods, like Vashtor the Archifane, is also a contract and arms dealer for the demonic stuff that comes out of chaos. Many demons may sign a pact with Vashtor in the soul forges of the warp, and in doing so are given the weapons of war to kill as much as they can. Should they do so, excellent, you may keep it. Should you not, I hope you enjoy your soul working in the forges for all eternity. That's what you signed with blood and oil. In addition, much like their ties in the loyalist realm,
I mean, demons doing demonic things. Why the fuck not? It just makes sense. But damn, I didn't know about that demon. Oh shit. But how do you balance this? How do you balance Imperium with this kind of shit? Like when you hear about it, like okay, this is like somebody having like magic and laser, and other guys having bullets, basic rifles. Like how do? I mean, not the case in here, but I'm just making an example. Like in certain video games and things, that somebody has like proper magical lightning, laser weapons, and other guys some basic rifle, and they are somehow balanced. How does that even work? Like what? In Fallout, like okay, you know, like ballistic weapons have more damage than laser ones. Like how the fuck? Like, I mean, that's not true. Fallout has that gauss rifle, right? But doesn't matter. So yeah, this is just insane. Like Chaos Marines having this kind of chaos, demonic shit, demonic tanks, and Imperium supposed to fight that? How?
The Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knight houses are deeply intertwined. There were, of course, many knight houses that swore fealty and bent the knee to War Master Horus during the heresy, but a good portion of them had no choice, as they were absorbed by warp storms and corrupted into compliance. Many of these Chaos Knights reflect the very early Dark Age technology knights with more corrupted weapons. The Throne Mechanicum, which once had a noble sitting and taking control of generations of previous drivers and taming a beast, is now a saddle to a monstrosity of wrath and hatred. The nobles of the Chaos Knights fight to aggravate and bring the machine to their will while combating the corrupted minds of their fallen ancestors. Some of these nobles may do such a good job that they themselves fuse into the throne itself and become one with the knight. If a noble dies, no worries at all. Unlike the Imperial ones that require a pilot, a demon can hop into the cockpit and control it instead. The Night Worlds also see full corruption as well. Where there were once peasants, there are now cultists, and the goal of the Chaos Knights are just as chaotic as the gods they follow. Some are sent to war by the ruinous powers, others may protect Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds, and others still may be so hyped up on the ruinous power are just aimless and reckless, hoping to unravel the fabric of the universe itself. Though the aspect of nobility is still there with the Chaos Knight, but it's hardly the same as it is on the Imperial side. As opposed to a beautiful knightly stallion, the knights here are horrifying and unpredictable monstrosities, fueled in part by the agony of the memories of the ancestors trapped within. An invasion by a house of Chaos Knights is a horrifying thing. One might ask, how do knights enter the battlefield? Normally they can be deployed via dropships the standard way, but Imperial Knights can be deployed with a drop keep. A gigantic knight keep with like towers and stuff will hurtle towards the surface like a drop pod and be slammed into the ground with an excessively thunderous crash. Then massive drawbridges slam down, banners unfurl and huge horns play the song of their people as these lumbering robots charge out of their, again, drop keep to fight for the Imperium. So imagine what a warp-fueled version of this could look like.
If you get the opportunity, you should kill yourself.
Chaos Knights have such a presence, the warp fluctuates in their tread. They bring doom, dread, and despair across the battlefield. Warp storms occur overhead, and psychic phenomenon cling to them. A Chaos Knight will arrive either in some warp-debased platform, or perhaps a portal itself, or climb out of a pool of blood. As the air gets heavy, the enemy feels a crippling sense of paranoia, and the sky begins to rain blood, acid, and God knows what else. The horror.
I remember watching one of the Arma video. I forgot the channel's name, but yeah, one of those channels, right? Like Arma, that is Warhammer. And I like how whenever the Chaos Marine appears, it's like lightning happens and light changes, and then suddenly shit drops. Like, holy shit. That game really captured, like that mod really captured in Arma 3, like how the fuck would feel. And just imagine that it intensify in your head. Oh, panic slips in, right? You just feel something's wrong, and then the light changes, pool of blood, and oh, here comes the Chaos Marines. That's like Undertaker level entrance. It's like WWE WrestleMania and the Undertaker is coming.
Horrors of the warp have resulted in a dramatic change in technology in the favor of their forces. Though in practice, it is a horror beyond comprehension, their baseline desires don't seem that radical on paper. They are creative builders, working to innovate and improve technology while utilizing anything they can to accomplish their STEM goals. Looking at the dark forces of chaos and the Emperor now on his golden throne, humanity is fractured. The Emperor himself is the guiding light for warp travel for humanity, and in being that exists as a beacon for the entire species. Without him, things would get somehow worse. Therefore, he needs his protectors. Where a Thunder Warrior wasn't enough for his armies, and half of his Space Marines turned traitor, the Emperor's personal bodyguards are something else entirely. They are not the fallible Astartes, nor are they a nightmarish concoction of organs and indoctrination. They are built and gene-crafted, with science bordering on magic. They number 10,000 strong, and each of them is a hero. They are the
10-foot tall golden machines, right? Perfect of the perfect, untouchables.
Rare is the battle where an Emperor's custodians outnumber our foes. We are ever beset, surrounded upon all sides by heresy and foulness, just as is Terra itself. Yet, like the throne world, we stand resolute, indefatigable, indomitable. Let the enemy come. Let them darken the horizon with their numbers. Still, we will prevail. Though the Emperor sits rotting on the golden throne, his talons remain sharp. The talons of the Emperor was the name given to the most elite forces at his disposal. The left hand of his talons comes in the form of the Sisters of Silence, psychic blanks that scour the galaxy to claim souls, to fuel the Astronomicon in the form of the Great Tithe. 1,000 psychers sacrificed daily to keep the Emperor of Mankind alive, dragged into the black ships of the Silent Sisterhood. The right hand of the Emperor's protectorate, his golden bodyguards that serve him and only him. These are the custodians. While the members of the Space Marines went out to take back the galaxy, the Legio Custodes stood back and kept a close watch over the Emperor himself. The Custodes are, in a sense, similar to Space Marines in that they are genetically modified super soldiers clad in power armor, but that is where the similarities stop. Their genetic makeup seems to be made from the Emperor himself, or at least something quite close. And the precision of their creation predates the development of the Space Marines and even the Primarchs. Unlike Space Marine recruitment, where there's a process undertaken when a subject is at least somewhat grown, a custodian's process begins at infancy. The methods in which they are made are a secret, but what is known is that at the very beginning, each custodian was made by the Emperor himself. Regardless of the bioalchemical process, the process is exceptionally long and grueling, and only a handful of selected aspirants make it to the end. Those that do are clad in the most regal and effective armor in the Imperium. Commonly, a custodian is seen carrying a guardian spear, an utterly yoked up version of the staves the Praetorian guards of the Emperor in Star Wars had. They are also clad with specific shields and blades, but the most interesting thing with all of their gear is that due to the meticulous and dedicated maintenance and preservation of their armor and gear, these items are the same ones they used 10,000 years ago. The custodians do not age biologically, so some of the veterans in the Guard may be several thousand years old. And unlike the Space Marines, they fight entirely as a solo force. When a line of custodians is holding back waves of enemies, they operate independently. There are no battle formations, there are no squad tactics. Each custodian is the main character, trailed by serfs and servitors, tasked entirely to reload their weapons. They fight with a singular purpose, if not action. Groups of custodians will dispatch enemy after enemy, their spears coming within inches of each other, but
Basically a protagonist of a game. Any game you play and you're badass, you kill 100 people left and right like it's nothing. That's what these things are. Custodians, 10 foot tall with a follower that you use as a, like, I don't know, mule or something.
never close enough for a killing blow. Their strikes are intentionally defensive, allowing their opponents to attack 1 to 2 times before parrying and ending their lives. Each strike deflected is an opportunity to know their enemy more and learn from their patterns. They are truly the Emperor's bodyguards, masters of close combat, enemy knowledge, and reactions measured in milliseconds. Though the Custodians are a part of the Adeptus Terra, the members of the Guard only answer to their own leadership and the Emperor himself. The leader of the Custodians is known as the Captain General, and individual squads of Custodians are overseen by a shield captain. As their focus is on the Emperor, their command center is located within the Imperial Palace. The Tower of Hegemon serves as their primary base of operations, but there is a dedicated elite guard of Custodians known as the Companions that stands 300 strong by the Emperor's side. In total, the Custodians are 10,000 strong, and when a member
Okay, that makes sense. I always assume like all of them are always with the Emperor. Like, okay, that's too much number. So yeah, 300 stands with the Emperor. Everyone else is like in different place close to it, and they are apparently they all are like singular force. Obviously, they have like leaders. I mean, that makes sense.
retires, their name is added to the Hall of Name and vanish across the galaxy in a cloaked disguise to serve as 10,000 strong, and when a member retires, their name is added to the Hall of Name and vanish across the galaxy.
All right. I thought it was like WWE Mark Henry reference or something, but okay.
In a cloaked disguise to serve as eyes and ears for the Imperium. Despite their numbers and their strength, the members of the Custodians do not consider themselves to be soldiers or warriors in any way. They see themselves strictly as the guardians of the Emperor in all facets of his presence. This extends beyond the physical. Custodians believe they represent the guarding of the Emperor's ideals and philosophies too. Their gains are both physical and literary. They are the protectorates of everything the Emperor stood for, and in doing so, the Custodians are also artisans and scholars, in addition to being the Golden Guard of the Golden Throne. However, due to this nature of being protectorates, they have a very strong view when it comes to the Space Marines and the Primarchs. The Emperor himself had insinuated many times that once the galaxy was brought to heel, that there would be no need for the Space Marines anymore, and they were to go the same way that the Thunder Warriors went before them. The Custodians were meant to be the judge, jury, and executioner of this will, and are biologically designed not only to be able to take down Space Marine with ease, but to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Primarch as well. During the
Emperor was an asshole, let's be honest. Even after all this, like, could you blame Chaos Space Marine? Oh, by the way, the Primarchs and Space Marine themselves are going to just way the first one went, Thunder Warriors, right? Because there's no need for them. Need? Everything's a tool? Come on.
heresy, the Custodians mused on how suspiciously easy it was to kill Chaos Space Marines, as if they were trained and made for that explicit purpose. Constantine Valdor, one of the closest advisors of the Emperor, was asked if he ever disagreed with Big E on something, and he said once, with the formation of the Primarchs.
I feel I do my best, but they don't.
Let me ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? Quickly.
I hate that every time we're in Untucked, the conversations are about me.
And besides the trained distrust for Space Marines, the Custodians also have evidence for their distrust. The Horus Heresy saw half of the chapters fall to chaos and turn traitor against the Emperor. In the mind of a Custodian, the fact that half of the Space Marines fell before means that the other half can fall with ease.
Justified. Fully redemption, full redemption. That's what it is, right? There you go. I knew those damn Space Marines and those Primarchs. Half of them went like that. Other half's gonna go like that as well. Wait a minute. Is there some kind of an issue that's gonna happen in the future patch? Let's just say between Custodians and Space. That would be too much. Like already, like Imperium is already crumbling in a way, slowly getting better with the return of Primarchs, with the Wolf and Smurf himself, Gilliman. What if there's a friction with Custodians? Not to mention already what is it called? Like, oh fuck, I forgot it. The other branch, right? The Inquisition. Yeah, them. They already have a struggle with all that shit already. So like, there's gonna be inner fighting. Is that what's gonna happen?
They are fully capable of wiping out literally any force put against them, and in a sense are the final representation of the golden age of terror. However, they are forced to stand in silent and blind service to the Emperor and to the ill of the Imperium. And they, for 10,000 years, have stood vigil over the Imperium and have watched its rise and fall with the inability to do anything about it. While they do go out and fight some battles here and there, at the end of the day, the vastness of the Imperium means that the closest advisors to the Emperor himself are powerless to make any change. But goddamn, can they kill a Space Marine? For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years, I did not but wait. Yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon. Of course, a threat directly.
In a way, sure, yeah, patience is a weapon. It's a preemptive thing. Like it can tell you like how stable you are, and like you don't get overtaken by your emotions and shit.
To Terra itself would appear to be something foolish. It's in the deepest parts of Imperial space and is one of the most.
Look at how much lit India is. People are like over 1.4 billion people. Yeah, they're crammed into space, but yeah, a lot of places are getting better and better. So look at those lights. Is there any place on the entire planet which is this densely packed and densely lit up like this? India is getting better and better. Like every place has a light now. Every town is becoming like a city now. Look at the Delhi and around it. Damn.
Defended bastions in the galaxy. You truly have to be foolhardy or insane to think that you can take on Terra itself. However, one faction certainly got close. In the dark ages of the stars and in a river of misery, there is one faction having a cracking old time. The galaxy sees them as savages, yet they have already figured out the questions of the universe. Their numbers are uncountable, their technology incomprehensible, and yet their violence is so very green. I am, of course, talking about the orcs.
I'm gonna love this shit. Orcs and their ability to just will things into existence and just using their imagination as power. This shit's gonna be lit.
Are the pinnacle of creation. For them, the great struggle is won. They have evolved a society which knows no stress or angst. Who are we to judge them? We Eldar who have failed, or the humans on the road to ruin in their turn? And why? Because we saw answers to questions that an orc wouldn't even bother to ask. We see a culture that is strong and despise it as crude. During the war in heaven, the old ones were
Just because they're simple doesn't mean they're any less than us. We idiots destroyed everything. They're simple in their work. I like how Eldars are actually wise enough to admit that shit.
doing their best to spawn as many combatants to their cause as possible by seeding the galaxy in a specialized sense. The Eldar were made to be a precise and tactical species to fight off the Catan and the Necrons, but another prominent species was made by them as well. The Krork were warriors clad in ornate armor with more dangerous weaponry. However, things changed, and these warriors changed, and the Krork are no more. They are now known as the boys, the lads, the mates, the orcs. An orc in 40k looks like an orc in most other fantasy media. Hulking, warlike monstrosities with big teeth and worse attitudes. However, unlike the more Tolkien-esque forms of these creatures, the devastating nature of the orcs is in their biology. Unlike most species in the galaxy, the orcs are actually a type of fungus. This fungus itself comes in various forms. The small goblin-like Gretchen and Snotlings are a part of this fungal ecosystem as well, and also the squig.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that is true, right? Like orcs are fungus like that. Like, damn. It's insane how OP orcs are. Because if you had the orc infestation, that's it. It's spores and things gonna be there. They will one day come back and like multiply. Oh my god.
Which can be used for basically anything. But regardless of what is a part of the fungal system, all of them are born from spores that land on the ground and grow. As they travel around the galaxy, they drop spores literally everywhere, and then an orc dies, and they drop tons of fungal spores that allows for their numbers to be replenished over a period of time. Because of this, orcs are not only extremely prominent across the galaxy, but they are exceptionally resilient due to their growing cycle. Even if one orc lands on a planet, it will be nearly impossible to get rid of all of the orc presence unless the planet itself is completely destroyed. And even then, they might find a way to survive. Due to their fungal nature, orcs don't really stop growing.
Just like how viruses become super virus, fungus might become super fungus. Or they're resistant to like all the nukes and weapons that Imperium uses. Exterminatus doesn't work anymore. Oh, look at the orcs are back. Oh shit. I like how Tyranids are the threat, but orcs are just like, yeah, we're probably much worse than Tyranids.
And the more long-lived an orc is, the bigger they get, and the more an orc fights, the bigger they get. Of course, since they're constantly getting into scraps, an orc's lifespan isn't necessarily that long, so the bigger orcs are harder to find. Though alongside this, however, they are a tribe-based species that is comprised of war bands, and the biggest and the strongest orc leads the war band known as the War Boss. At the bottom end of the orc tribal system are the Gretchens and the Snotlings. These members act as the servants and slaves of the orcs, and sometimes their actual ammunition, despite being a bit smarter and more cunning than their bigger brethren. Because in orc culture, the biggest is the boss. The smallest gets picked on and thrown around. Beyond the war,
Basically in Game of Thrones, right? Peter Dinklage's character, all the smart being like, ooh, you small, I'm big, I'm gonna throw you. That's what this shit is. That shit is insane.
bands and the tribes, orcs also belong to a specific clan. Tribes constantly shatter and rebuild, but the clans do not. They are, in a sense, a psychological state of being for any given orc, and gives an orc their specific character and traits. And to make things easier, these clans are also color-coded, so that's very easy to tell what orc does what. Though there are many clans out there, 6 of them are the most prominent and well-known. The Bad Moons are essentially the merchants and have a lot of money because their currency is teeth, and they grow teeth faster than any others. The Blood Axes are the stealth units, and by stealth it means like slightly more quiet than the others, and they have a love for LARPing as humies. Death Skulls are the
Stealth. Orc stealth. I can't do this so good, man. I can already imagine orc stealth just walking in like a whole earth and every room and everything just vibrates. Oh, we are slightly 1% stealthier than the other orcs. Sure, why not?
the scavengers, and the Goths are the close combat specialists. And on the two ends of the spectrum, we also have the tech-savvy evil sons and the more traditionalist and tribal snakebites. Another major facet of orcs is their religious beliefs. They believe in two gods, Gork and Mork. Gork is cunningly brutal and Mork is brutally cunning. The difference between them, according to orcs, is that Mork hits you when you aren't looking and Gork hits you when you are. There's a lot of confusion as to which one is which, and this results in a lot of infighting. In other species, this would be considered a sort of religious conflict, but for the orcs, it's just
Yeah, okay. I think brutally cunning would be much fucked up because cunningly brutal means he cunningly finds a way to be brutal, but it's upfront. Brutally cunning, which means whatever scheme he does is brutal and cunning that way, which means he could do shit that you don't even see coming, but it's much more brutal.
just another excuse to fight. I have a quote here, but I don't really do a good orc voice. So I'm going to get my co-host of That's Ridiculous to read this one, and I'll try to lip sync it.
Oh, he's more cunning than a grot, and more killy than a dread. The boys that follow me can't be beat. On Piscina, we jumped the Marine boys, and our boss pose was covered in the helmets we took from the dead-ends. We burned their port and killed their bosses, and left nothing but ruins behind. I'm Warlord Gazgul Mac Uruk-Drucker, and I speak with the word of the gods. We's gonna stomp the universe flat and kill anything what fights back. We's gonna do this 'cause we're orcs, and we was made to fight and win.
It's because this fucking sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's insane that that accent is one of the British accents, which I don't know what to feel about that. I don't know the people who have that accent. I don't know what they're gonna feel about that, but okay.
Fighting is the biggest aspect of orc culture, and it's essentially their life's purpose. They are genetically hardwired to get into battles and scraps with enemies that can feel pain. The more they fight, the bigger they get. This, combined with them getting bigger over time, means that some of the biggest and baddest orcs of all time have been notably gigantic. The Beast, as he was known, was about the size of an imperial knight. If an orc runs out of other enemies to fight, they will immediately start infighting to scratch the battle itch. For example, in The Warp, a planet exists where a band of orcs are in a constant state of war and battle, and have been for an improbably long amount of time, strictly because how much Khorne enjoys himself watching it. For some, being trapped in a perpetual war planet for all eternity would be a fate worse than death, but to the boys, this is heaven. In the event of a particularly big battle, a massive amount of
Khorne's like blood, skulls. That's what I am. And then just see orcs like, what the fuck? You're not gonna out battle me. You're not gonna out blood me. And orcs like, this is what I do. This is what I am. Okay, I'm gonna put you into this, and they just keep going and going like, fascinating. Every shit happens somewhere, and like that chaos, like chaos. Primarch, somebody comes to like Khorne is like, we need your attention there. Shut up, I'm watching this, and get just distracted watching that shit.
tribes and war bands will unite under what is known as the Wa. The concept of a Wa covers a few bases. The first is the group aspect of the massive green tidal wave of orcs fighting for the same cause, the cause being the second base. But the most prominent aspect of the Wa is the psychic aspect of it. Remember how the old ones made the Eldar and all the Eldar are psychic? Well, the orcs are too, kinda, but just not as much. Only a little bit of it. And they often don't know how to use it and frankly don't care. But a huge gathering of orcs generates a psychic field that allows orcs to be more organized, dangerous, and dedicated to the war-based cause. However, the true extent of the psychic energy and its usage is relatively unknown, but that doesn't matter considering the outcome 90% of the time. In a similar sense, their ragtag technology and weaponry is also a mystery to most who encounter it purely because of that Wa energy. The technology the orcs use seem to be held together with duct tape and plastic glue, and crude doesn't even begin to describe it. Their guns seem to have an inordinate amount of ammunition and firepower, and they are seemingly able to put things together on the fly in the middle of combat. The Imperium is of the mind that the Orcs' weapons and machinery only work due to their innate psychic ability, but realistically, Orc gear hardly works in the first place. Weapons blow up in a Bugs Bunny-esque manner all the time, and their war buggies can collapse in the middle of battle. Just because it works a handful of times does not mean it's an effective weapon, but this doesn't stop the Orcs and their green tide. To really understand the power of
Okay. The old ones created orcs thinking that they're going to be some killing machine and use use their psychic power. But some are fucked up. Orcs don't give a shit about psychic power, so they don't use it properly. So when they do all this VAR and all this like makeshift, like glue together some wooden sticks and that's some laser weapon now or some shit, I don't know. So they're supposed to use their psychic power, but they can't use it right. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it blows up. Fuck it, there you go. That's what orcs are. That's what orcs do. There you go. I mean, kind of is a balance patch, isn't it? Because if they could have like understood all that, everybody's fucked. It's insane how old ones could just do this, create Eldars and like orcs like that. How insanely powerful they were like.
The Wa energy, Orcs can operate purely off of belief. Now, a misconception is that Orcs believe something is real and it happens. But that isn't true, because that's just one Orc. However, there's never one Orc. There's normally a few billion Orcs together, and if they all believe something is true, the warp will tend to respond with a positive green light. Sometimes. Do the red ones go faster? Well, with enough Orcs, yeah. How does an Orc buggy with an engine block that's just a boulder with vroom vroom written in chalk work? Who cares? Orcs breathing on a ship with a hull breach? Go ahead. An Orc went back in time to kill a version of himself so he could have two of his favorite weapons. It is shenanigans. Because of their actions and aesthetic, the Orcs tend to be presented in a comic relief sense in a lot of media, particularly the media from their perspective. They are bumbling and loud and goofy British football hooligans, and they say silly things and act in silly ways. But to the citizens of the Imperium, the Orcs are far from funny. They are violent and irrational creatures that take humans for punching bags, slaves, or ultimately dinner. They have no moral compass and are violent and brutal killers that know nothing else. They are genetically designed to be a violent species that was capable of beating back the Necrons and the Catan. And if the Orcs were ever able to unify under one banner, they would be...
Imagine that shit. Oh, sir, orcs are nothing but idiots. They are some brutes. They are threat, but they're just animals. What have they ever done? They beat Catans. Yeah, they beat Catans and many ridiculous shit. Okay, sure. How the fuck you top that shit? Necrons and Catans. Orcs are so powerful they kicked ass against Necrons and Catans.
Utterly unstoppable. However, due to their aggressive nature, their organizational skills are non-existent, and they tend to just beat each other up for the fun of it. All that exists in the mind of an Orc is fighting, and nothing else. If they wipe out their enemies, they will inevitably wipe themselves out as well. They are a brutal Ouroboros doomed to an endless war cycle, but to an Orc, why does it matter? If they fight and they win, they win. If they fight and they die, it was a good fight. Now that the Xenos armies are growing in strength and more are threatening the safety of the Imperium, they need to bring new methods in order to handle what they are currently facing. The Emperor is on the Golden Throne. Half the Space Marines are traitor and they are beset from enemies within and without. So now the Lords on Terra must prepare for anything possible, and sometimes the impossible. For that, they take to the stars to explore and expand. They recruit assassins for priority eliminations, they train a galactic police force and a secret police to root out any and all heresy. The lesser known, yet most feared,
There you go. We got into deep weeds now. Deeper system of the governments and shit that works in the Imperium. 40k shit, right? Not 30 ones. Yeah. The whole orc thing is so insane, man. How brutal. Like, there could be, like, you can realistically make a patch about orcs where they just, like, for whatever reason, certain combinations just worked. Wow, became too big, too many orcs, and they just work now. Their imagination just worked now for some reason. That's too overpowered. Like that's game breaking overpowered right there. Alright, well, we're gonna stop here. I'll do the second part tomorrow or something. This is so good, man. I like he's doing this. I like he's giving 10-15 minutes of facts, and right, and even then it becomes a 4-hour long video. Alright, well, if you like my next one, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.